Italian Ndrangheta. This group started in the late 19th century in Calabria, building itself around family ties and rural loyalty. Unlike the Sicilian Mafia, they're built on bloodlines, actual relatives and in-laws, which makes infiltration nearly impossible. Today, there are around 100 clans called Ndrine, each running its own territory. Some have as few as 5 members, others over 50, all loosely tied together under regional units called locali. They've got their own ranks, starting with basic soldiers and climbing up to secretive inner circles like Vangelista and Quintino, all the way to the Capo Bastone, the clan boss. Outside Calabria, a governing body called the Camorra di Controllo helps keep coordination intact, especially in places like Lombardy and Liguria. They control about 80% of Europe's cocaine trade and bring in an estimated 35 to 55 billion euros a year, roughly 2 to 3% of Italy's total economy. Their key port, Gioia Tauro. But they've also got a serious presence in South America, West Africa, Canada, and Australia. They prefer corruption over chaos, using bribery and local political control instead of shootouts. That strategy's worked. Many judges won't even touch Calabria. Meanwhile, they've gone digital, using encrypted phones and crypto for laundering. The Ndrangheta isn't just powerful, they've built one of the world's most secretive, adaptable, and profitable criminal networks. Camorra. This group first emerged in 18th century Naples, built from street gangs known as Compagnani. By the early 19th century, they'd become a secretive criminal society, and today, they're one of the most decentralized and unpredictable mafia networks in Italy. There are about 180 separate clans, each led by a capo and operating independently with anywhere from 30 to 300 members per clan. They don't answer to a central boss, which makes alliances and rivalries constantly shift. The Secondigliano alliance, for example, was a temporary coalition between the Licciardi, Contini, and Melardo clans. But these alliances fall apart fast, like in the brutal Di Lauro versus Sicilianisti war that inspired the show Camorra. At their peak in the 1970s, Camorra clans employed over 40,000 people and pulled in about $215 million a year through black market activity. Today, they're still knee-deep in drug trafficking, especially cocaine and hashish, and they've built connections in Colombia and Spain. They run rackets like illegal parking in Naples, extortion, waste dumping, and even counterfeit goods. They launder money through real estate, restaurants, and call centers. And while turf wars are common, they've also pushed into international networks, working with other mafias and expanding operations into Latin America and Spain, while using encrypted phones and shell companies to hide the cash. Sacra Corona Unita. This group kicked off in the late 1970s inside Trani prison, founded by Giuseppe Pino Regoli. It started as a Camorra offshoot with help from the Ndrangheta and officially formed in 1983 with its own prison charter. The name means Sacred Crown United, which fits. Members go through a symbolic baptism and swear loyalty using ritualistic props like lemon, cotton, and even a cyanide pill. There are around 50 to 60 clans, mostly centered in Apulia's Salento region, Brindisi, Lecce, and Taranto. Membership's estimated between 1,500 and 2,000, with a 3-tier structure. Street-level recruits in the Società Minore, full members in the Maggiore who've completed at least 3 hits, and the elite Società Segreta. They made their fortune through cigarettes, cocaine, arms trafficking, and human smuggling via the Adriatic corridor. Annual earnings once reached nearly 3 billion euros, but internal feuds during the late 1980s and 90s tore the group apart, spawning rivals like Remo Lecce Libera and Rosa dei Venti. Despite a steep decline, they still operate across Italy and abroad, Albania, Spain, Germany, even the US. They've partnered with Balkan gangs and Colombian cartels. State crackdowns and brave local resistance have seriously weakened them, but fragments still cling to influence through smuggling, extortion, and corruption. Israeli Mafia. There are 16 known crime families operating across the country. 5 of them run major national operations while the rest focus on smaller territories. The Jewish families include Abergil, Alperon, Abutbul, Rosenstein, and Amir Molnar. On the Arab and Druze side, you've got groups like the Abdul Qadir family in Taiba, the Jarushi clan in Ramla, and the Abu Latif family near the Lebanese border. These families run like dynasties, with leadership passed down through bloodlines. But internal feuds and shifting loyalties are constant. Assassinations, car bombs, and drive-bys happen often, and some groups even build secret tunnels for escape or surprise attacks. Their rackets are wide-ranging: extortion, loan sharking, drug trafficking, car theft, arms smuggling, and prostitution. Car parts often get stripped in Palestinian territories. Real estate and investment scams bring in between $5 to $10 billion globally every year. The Abergil organization alone faced Israel's biggest mafia trial, Case 512, ending with multiple life sentences. But they're far from gone. These groups have operations in Europe, South Africa, Australia, and the US, and they've even partnered with Russian and Georgian mafias. Arab crime clans control entire neighborhoods and rackets, with homicide rates in their towns nearly double the national average. Meanwhile, the Abu Latif clan wins government bids for infrastructure near the border, which has raised serious security questions. Georgian Mafia. These groups rose fast in the chaos of the 1990s after the Soviet Union collapsed. Georgia became a stronghold for thieves-in-law, or kanoniri kordebi, elite criminals shaped by Soviet prison culture. They gained serious influence by aligning with oligarchs and corrupt politicians during the Shevardnadze years, embedding themselves deep into state structures. The two main factions came out of Tbilisi and Kutaisi. Both produced a huge number of thieves-in-law who spread across the former Soviet states. Their setup mirrored the Sicilian Mafia, with rituals, hierarchy, and loyalty, but things got looser after Georgia's crackdown. In 2005, after the Rose Revolution, the government banned thieves-in-law outright. Many fled the country, while others took their operations abroad. Today, you'll find them active in Russia, Austria, Belgium, Spain, and parts of the US. A major case in 2025 saw several Georgian mobsters convicted in New York for violent extortion. They still run protection rackets and smuggling routes, especially through Abkhazia and South Ossetia. They've also stepped into cybercrime, running financial scams from call centers in Tbilisi. Domestically, Georgia dismantled much of their power, breaking control over prisons and politics. But overseas, these groups adapted, forming decentralized cells with their VOR leaders still calling the shots. If you like this video, please show your support by hitting the like and subscribe button.